Look, it's those guys.
Some drinks!
Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Okay. If City Council would please stop making so much noise, Councilman Stone. Thank you. Hello, friends. I'm Dan Moulthrop. I'm the Chief Executive over at the City Club, and it's really a thrill and an honor and a pleasure and a real privilege to be here with all of you to serve as Master of Ceremonies for this moment this morning where we are recognizing 50 years of really incredible progress that's been made since the last time our river burned. Before I say any other words, I want to thank our friends from the Cleveland Orchestra who posed over there for a picture. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. Thank you very much for welcoming everybody. You know, I said 50 years since the last time the river burned, and yesterday we were gathered at the Huntington Convention Center for our State of the Great Lakes, and I know many of you were there as well. We had with us Christine Todd Whitman, former EPA Administrator, Chanel Smith from the Trust for Public Land, and David Orr, who has led so many nationwide environmental projects out of Oberlin College. And what we realized in that conversation is that this moment really isn't just about 50 years of history. It's about the next 50 years. It's really about the next 12 years when you think about what's going on with climate change. It's about all of these issues. And Cleveland represents something in the national imagination and in the national memory and in our national aspirations for who we are as a country. What we've done together here as a community over these last 5 decades and beyond, thanks to the leadership of Carl Stokes and Lou Stokes and so many others, what we've done here is transform a community by transforming our watershed and remembering what's really most important, what our assets really are, and how important it is to take care of one another and take care of our natural environment. So I thank all of you for being a part of this today. There's a lot of people with many things to say about this important moment, but it's really, I just want you all to sit with this for a second and feel it. This is big. The nation's eyes are on us right now, as they have been since that moment when that photo appeared in Time magazine in the summer of 1969. And it wasn't even from that year, that photo. But in all seriousness, the nation's eyes are upon us, and thanks to the leadership of Mayor Jackson in setting our course 10 years ago with Sustainable Cleveland 2019, we have made incredible progress over these last 10 years. And we are poised to make even more progress. So I'd like to introduce Mayor Frank Jackson. On January 2nd of 2018, he took the oath of office for his historic 4th 4-year term, making him Cleveland's longest-serving mayor and one of our greatest leaders. He is a lifelong resident of the Central neighborhood, where he began his career in elected office as its city councilman and later city council president. He's a graduate of Cleveland Public Schools, Tri-C, and Cleveland State University, and it was Cleveland State University where he earned his bachelor's, his master's degree, and his law degree. He began public service as an assistant city prosecutor in the Cleveland Municipal Court Clerk's Office. Ladies and gentlemen, friends of the Cuyahoga River, Mayor Frank Jackson.
Good morning. And how are you this morning? You know, I was telling someone, I know they put the tent up for the rain, but it would have been nice to have some sunshine. You know, I want to welcome everyone to this very unique event. Welcome also to all the public officials, elected officials. This is a unique event because it, as Dan said, we're talking about 50 years since the last time the river burned, and we're talking about significant investment by the regional sewer district in this pump station and the Towpath Trail. And they've all come together at this time, at this moment, in this spot. Because, as you know, the river burning was the catalyst for a lot of things happening that resulted in the EPA, Clean Water Act, and many of the things that have helped to restore this river and many waterways throughout this country. Also, the investment by the regional sewer district that in this pump station really helps to prevent the discharge of stormwater overflow and raw sewage into the river, which helps us to keep the river clean. And with the Towpath Trail, it recognizes the fact that now all of this, which we used to turn our back to, is now something where people want to be, is a recreational activity. So all of it's coming together, and it's coming together in a good way. So I want to welcome everybody and thank all of you who made this possible, because we're speaking, but I know many of you have been dealing with this issue and many other environmental issues for a long time, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And next up is our first speaker here. He's also Ohio's 51st Secretary of State, former state senator as well, Frank LaRose. A native of Akron, Secretary LaRose serves as Ohio's chief elections officer, as all of you know, and his office is the front door for businesses looking to start in Ohio. Friends of the Cuyahoga, please welcome Secretary of State Frank LaRose.
Thank you, Dan. Wow, what a celebration, and this is something truly worth celebrating. Just 50 years ago, we know that this river behind us was something that became a national embarrassment, and it awoke the conscience of a community, and now it's a national point of pride. It's something that we want to tell the world about. Our crooked river, our Cuyahoga, this river that runs not only through the geography of our community, but in so many ways runs through the life of our community. I think, like so many of you, this river for me has been something that I've really enjoyed growing up near. One of my favorite activities every summer is kayaking on the Cuyahoga River, and we take advantage of the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad to put our boats on the train and take them upriver and then kayak back. And we think of this river that just 50 years ago parents told their children to stay away from, and now is a source of recreation and something that we're so proud of. But to me, the story here is also one about pragmatism. This is a river that has been at the center of industry in this community for so long as well. And what we see today is truly a river reborn. But what we also see is that economic prosperity and responsible environmental stewardship can go hand in hand. In fact, they must go hand in hand. We can be responsible stewards of our environment while at the same time having a thriving economy. And what you see on this river is an example of that. I'm so proud of Cleveland, Ohio. I'm so proud of our Cuyahoga River, and thank you so much to each and every one of you who has made this possible and who continues to protect our river. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. As all of you know, it was the fire and the coverage of the fire and the concern that it raised that catalyzed legislation that created the Environmental Protection Agency. We're pleased that our next speaker is with us for that reason, indeed. U.S. EPA Region 5 Administrator Kathy Stepp. Kathy serves as the Regional Administrator for EPA Region 5. Her responsibilities include overseeing environmental protection efforts across the Great Lakes states of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, and Wisconsin, as well as 35 federally recognized tribal governments. One of her roles is manager of the EPA Great Lakes National Program, which leads the restoration and protection of the largest freshwater system in the world. That's where we are right now, in the middle of the largest freshwater system in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Kathy Stepp.
afternoon. So I've got this fantastic speech that my staff wrote out for me, and I'm realizing how long it is. And then I looked at the list of speakers, and I know you would so much rather hear from your citizens and your neighbors and the people you've been working with side by side for decades on this extraordinary project. Far more than you'd want to hear from a federal government official. So I'm just going to share a couple of observations that I've had. This is not my first time to the area since having this job at EPA. I had the opportunity to come down and do a day-long tour with NIORSD and talking about some of the challenges that they're working to overcome and to really change the direction and the conversation about environmental stewardship when it comes to sewer and wastewater management. And they are making tremendous, tremendous progress. I also want to talk about the history just quickly, and I know pretty much everybody here is going to know the history of how we came to be here today. Of course, I'm far too young. I understand that the last fire happened 50 years ago, and I'm thinking in the correct lighting, I might be able to pull off you believing me that I would be too young, but alas, I'm not. But to be able to stand here today and to represent the men and women who came before me at US EPA is really an honor for me. Because while I get to be here for the glitter and rainbow moment, there are so many people who spent their careers really working to change the landscape around them and to provide that environmental protection and a healthy future for men and women and children across this land for generations to come. And it is really an honor for me to be able to be kind of the window dressing today on their very good works. I also want to applaud the work of the men and women at Ohio's agencies who have also worked hand in hand with EPA, with nonprofit groups, with everyday citizens, riparian landowners, businessmen, politicians, all the different levels of the government that have come together to really make a stand and a statement here that while this place 50 years ago was that catalyst, that spark of light to light EPA and to send us on our way to provide these same kinds of benefits to citizens across the country, it doesn't happen all by itself. We have to have the support of Congress and presidents and local people, voters, people who care about these issues that matter so much to their families. And without all of you and all of the push and the energy that you invested into this project, we'd never be here today. And I know we wouldn't be having similar conversations around the country either. So it is really a delight for me to be able to congratulate you on this moment, to thank you all for the attention that you have paid, for your willingness to invest your time, your money, your elbow grease, all of the things that you care about, and to keep pushing Cleveland forward. Because, man, I got to tell you, Cleveland, you have given me a lot to brag on in my travels across the region. So thank you so much.
That's great. We brag about Cleveland all the time. You're a Clevelander now. So I mentioned Congressman Lou Stokes before, and he was one of a series of important congressional representatives without whom the legislative focus on the Great Lakes would not be quite as strong as it has been. So I'm pleased to introduce our next speaker. He's the congressional rep from the 14th Congressional District and a leader among congressional reps whose districts touch the Great Lakes, Dave Joyce. He graduated from West Cuyahoga High School and went on to receive his... Dave, I'm told I got to read all this. He graduated from West G, went on to receive his BA in accounting and JD from the University of Dayton, and upon graduation he moved back to Cuyahoga County where he worked as a public defender. In '88, he was elected as Cuyahoga County prosecutor, and in November 2012, Dave was elected to represent the 14th District of Ohio for the 113th Congress. This Congress, the 116th, is his fourth term in office. As a member of the Appropriations Committee, Dave serves as ranking member on the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Interior and Environment, a key position for Ohio and for Lake Erie. Since he came to Congress, Dave has established himself as a leader in Congress in bipartisan efforts to preserve and protect the Great Lakes. And as all of you know, he doesn't like to be called Congressman Joyce. He goes by Dave. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Joyce.
Thank you for having me here today, and it's an honor to be here among all of you who have worked so hard and dedicated so much time to in these efforts. the working on behalf of the Great Lakes comes sort of naturally to me. As a kid, I remember my favorite memories were, fishing with my dad up by the old power plant there at 72nd Street. In the great 2 weeks we'd have vacation up in going up to Lake Erie and Gem Beach area. And I'm surprised I still have any hair after jumping in the lake, what it was like back there in the early 70s. But then, in a family business, I worked for my father down here, started at 15 as a laborer underneath what used to be the Lorraine Carnegie, now the Hope Memorial Bridge, which is still there today, my father's business. And, it's one of those things where you learn the vitality and the enjoyment of those fishing, vacationing, and working along the river. Now, my 25 years as a prosecutor, when I first got to D.C., I said, well, look, I'm an expert in crime scenes, but that doesn't really help us here. I want to get involved in things that matter for northeastern Ohio. And when I looked around, I saw where I could have the biggest impact on the committee I was on, Interior, in order to work with the Great Lakes. And whether it was under President Obama or President Trump, we still had to fight to make sure we've had adequate funding for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, which is one of the most tremendous bipartisan programs that we have together. And not only is it bipartisan, because I work with my dear friend Marcy Kaptur on a daily basis and work with getting all the other areas that touch the Great Lakes as part of this, but also working with Senator Portman and Brown to make sure that we bring that funding home, because it's a collaboration of all the different agencies. And you don't get to participate unless you share the information and work together to make sure that we protect and preserve what I say is not a lake or a series of lakes, but a national treasure. So it really warms my heart to see all of you who've worked so hard to get us where we are, thinking 50 years ago today, from 50 years ago, there was the fire on the lake, and then as you come here today, see all the vibrance of downtown, see the people kayaking, rafting, the bikers. It's just a wonderful thing, because I can guarantee you one thing. You hear that Washington doesn't work, but the Buckeye delegation works damn hard every day to try to make sure we protect and preserve programs just like this. Thank you all. God bless you all.
Thank you, Dave, for your leadership in the Ohio delegation. I don't think that Congresswoman Kaptur is here yet. Is that right? She's not here. So we look forward to welcoming her to the stage when she arrives. Our next speaker is Kurt Princik. He has been with the Ohio EPA since 1991, received his bachelor's degree in environmental engineering technology from Dayton as well, a lot of University of Dayton going on here, and a master's degree in public administration from Cleveland State University. Kurt's been the district chief of the Ohio EPA Northern District Office since March of 2011. Kurt Princik, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here. On behalf of Ohio EPA Director Lori Stevenson and Governor DeWine, I just want to thank Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District and Canalway Partners for inviting us here today. This is a great day for Northeast Ohio and a great day for the Cuyahoga River. We've come a long way since 1969, and I'd like to extend a special thanks right now to those folks who I call the heroes of the Cuyahoga River. These were our predecessors. These were the boots on the ground in the 1970s and 80s. When I talk to my staff today, we talk about environmental contamination and parts per million and parts per trillion. Our predecessors couldn't even imagine that. We've all seen Marvin Green's picture where his hand goes into the Cuyahoga River and it comes out black. That's what folks were dealing with back in the day. They were trying to get disgusting raw solids out of the river. They were trying to get fresh crude oil out of the river. And they worked hard. And these were the folks who implemented the Clean Water Act and did a lot of the early heavy lifting on the Cuyahoga River. So from Ohio EPA, and there's no way I can list everyone who was involved, but there's just a special few I'd like to identify. From Ohio EPA, Bill Skoronsky, Bob Wyszynski, Steve Tuckerman, Doug Hasbrook, and Keith Riley. And then from the great staff at the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, and under their leadership of Andrew Unger, Louis Corsi, Erwin O'Deal, and Julius Chach. And then we had our community champions. These are the folks who held our feet to the fire. That was Elaine Marsh, Gary Whidden, and Edith Chase. So Great job to all of them. They're our predecessors, and they're the ones who, like Kathy said, we get to do the celebration today, but they're the ones who got it started. So the Clean Water Act, that was our foundation. That was the backstop for us. We needed that regulatory muscle to get the work done, but it took more than that. It took a lot more than that. There was a cultural change that happened in Cleveland and Northeast Ohio. We began to view Lake Erie and the Cuyahoga River as community assets and resources that needed to be cherished. The mindset changed, and as Secretary of State LaRose indicated, we changed our mindset from it's jobs versus fish. Now it's jobs and fish, and we showed that you can have a robust economy and environmental protection. We had the Cuyahoga Valley National Park established in 1974. That was an awesome event. And then there were the partnerships. The partnerships are what made it happen. And, you know, there were some tough times. We didn't always agree with US EPA. We didn't always agree with Regional Sewer District. But those partnerships were developed over the decades between the regulators, between US EPA, Ohio EPA, the Army Corps of Engineers, our municipalities, our watershed groups, in NOACA and NEFCO. And it was all hands on deck to get where we are today. This is clearly a testament to the Clean Water Act, but more than that, it's a testament to everyone in the watershed who dedicated their careers, their part-time, their free time to protecting and improving our river. So in closing, I just want to thank everyone for celebrating this great day. We have much to be proud of and much more to be excited for in the future. We'll continue to work to improve water quality, to foster those great partnerships which have been developed, and to look through new funding opportunities through our federal partners and through the governor's H2 Ohio program so we can continue to improve water quality. Thank you.
Kurt, thank you so much for your leadership and along with your colleagues in the federal level, too, for their leadership. This is going to be a very Instagrammable moment in a second here, I think, right? We've got, is it just the two of you? Do we have, okay, so there's a list. I'm just trying to make sure we get everybody. But we've got representatives from the state Senate, two of our state Senate delegation, Senator Kenny Yuko and Senator Nikki Antonio, who are joining me on stage right now to present a commendation to the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District and CEO Kyle Dreyfus-Wells. So without any further ado, get out your cameras, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be big.
Well, good morning, everybody. You know, when Senator Antonio we drive down to Columbus and they find out we're from Cleveland, the first thing they say to us are, what about those Browns? You want to talk about a comeback, but you know what? What a comeback this is right behind me. You know, you look out at it, and we call it the Cuyahoga County River, or Cuyahoga County River. A lot of people say we should rename it, you know, Baker Mayfield or something like that river, but I don't think we're going to do that. We're going to stick with the Cuyahoga right now, if you guys don't mind. You know, I just want to say a few words. I want to thank so many people here, including our governor, Mike DeWine, who came out with his State of State address, his plan for H2 Ohio. And it's because he knows the importance of protecting our water. He knows that from the Great Lakes to our rivers, it's so important. You know, we've got the Senate President and our delegation working together. A little shout out for our crew. 33-0 on passing the state budget, folks. I don't think that's been done in a very, very long time. And then, you know, there's two of us here. I have a feeling that two of our colleagues, Senator Sean O'Brien and Senator Steve Wilson, are probably with the Trails Caucus walking somewhere around Ohio today. Being this is the first day in about 6 months where it hasn't rained. So we got to keep that going. I'm going to give a big shout out to the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. And I go back to the days, I remember when it used to be called the Cleveland Regional Sewer District over on Rockwell, and how far they've come, and how much they've done, and what an important difference they've made in our country, in our county and state and everything. And I also want to make sure that we know that, you know what, this is a partnership. This is a partnership between our local government, with our county government, with our state government, with the federal government, and with the help of all of you. We will continue to keep Cleveland the great state that it is, our city that it is, Ohio the great state that it is, and the United States the great country that it is. Thank you for being here, and God bless you. And before we go, we are going to present this. It's a senatorial citation under the sponsorship of President Towpath.
Would you do me a favor and
Yes.
invite the Board of Trustees up as well?
Oh, we're going to invite the Board of Trustees up as well, please.
They're springing into action. Now it's an Instagrammable moment.
And again, this is under the sponsorship of President Towpath, Senators Eklund, Williams, Dolan, Yuko, O'Brien, Rugner, Antonio, and Sykes. So there's a lot of people down there fighting for make sure that we know what the importance of our water is and that we continue to make ways to prove it. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Stay. So while our Senate delegation makes their way through the greeting line, I'd like to invite State Representative Stephanie House and the rest of our State Representative, our General Assembly delegation to join us on stage. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you all introduce yourselves. There's a lot of people on stage right now. Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? So my name is Representative Stephanie House. I am joined by my two fabulous colleagues, Representative Jeff Crossman and our Minority Whip. I have to get all these titles right. Representative Kent Smith. And we are just here to celebrate Cuyahoga 50 with our Director Dreyfus Wells, along the wonderful team of the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. We are here because of 50 years ago. We all know the calamity, but more importantly, we are looking at the next 50 years of what do we do to make sure that not only Cleveland and Northeast Ohio is vibrant, but that our country is vibrant, and making sure that we have access to clean water. That's a fundamental level. And so, under the sponsorships of a lot of folks, Representatives Upchurch, Boyd, Brent, Callender, Crossman, Greenspan, myself, Patton, Robinson, Romer, Skindale, Sweeney, and Weinstein, we want to congratulate you all for the continuous work that you do to keep our community safe and making sure that we have another vibrant 50 years here in Northeast Ohio. Thank you all so much for the work that you do, and God bless you all.
Yeah. So if our representatives of the sewer district will stay on the stage for a second, I'd like to invite now Joy Mullinax. I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction. Joy Mullinax, Director of the Ohio Lake Erie Commission, and Monica Blasdell, Regional Liaison for Lieutenant Governor John Husted. Are they here? Yeah, Joy. Yeah. Oh, there we are. We are here. Okay. Sorry. There's a lot of, please, yes, round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you. My apologies for this.
Good morning. On behalf of Governor Mike DeWine and Lieutenant Governor John Husted, who are unfortunately not able to be here, but who have made water one of their premier signature policy issues, they wanted to congratulate and thank the many, many people who have been involved in restoring and revitalizing the Cuyahoga River. It's truly an amazing accomplishment to stand here today at 50 years after the fire. We have more work to do, but at this point I think we can all be proud that the river is now something that we can pass on to future generations. So we have a commendation.
Good morning, everyone. Monica Blaisdell here. I am happy to be here on behalf of Governor DeWine and Lieutenant Governor John Husted. They appreciate everyone's support, and it's so encouraging to see the public out here today in celebration. I do have accommodation from the office. This is on behalf of the state of Ohio. We congratulate you on your 50th anniversary. Throughout the past 50 years, you have made sure that the water that's released into the lakes and rivers are clean and safe. We thank you for your dedication to Ohio, and we congratulate you on reaching this milestone. Best wishes for continued success. This is signed on this 22nd day of June 2019. Governor Mike DeWine and Lieutenant Governor John Husted. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Yeah. Except for Darnell. Everybody except for Darnell. Thank you, Ms. Mullinex, Ms. Blaisdell. Next, it's a joy to remember that this doesn't happen without leadership at every level. And our next speaker is certainly an example of that. Darnell Brown is the Chief Operating Officer for the City of Cleveland and was appointed to the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District Board by the City of Cleveland Mayor in September 2001. He's now the board president. He's a member of numerous professional agencies, including the Cleveland Water Alliance and the Donebrook Watershed Partnership. Darnell Brown.
Good morning. What a beautiful day it is on the Cuyahoga River. On behalf of the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, I'd like to take the opportunity to really thank today's speakers and guests. I also want to thank my colleagues, my fellow board members, Mayor Stefanik from North Royalton, Sharon Dumas, Finance Director and the Interim Chief of Staff for the City of Cleveland, Julius Chach, and Mr. Ron Sulik for being here today to really celebrate this remarkable activity today. 50 years, what a remarkable story. As a member of the Sewer District's Board of Directors, as he said, for over 20 years, almost 20 years, I'm proud to be part of an organization whose mission is to protect the environment and public health. There's no better example of that than looking behind us and seeing the success of the Cuyahoga River today. While we've had our share of challenges, including reduced federal funding for much-needed upgrades, repairs to our sewer infrastructure, as well as increasing rates, all of which are done both with our responsibility and ratepayers in mind, we have to continue to do these things to continue to significantly, in a positive way, impact what happens in our region and how this really gets done with the support and efforts of all of our ratepayers and customers. We've had some great successes as well. That includes rebirth of this river that is, again, flowing behind me. That rebirth is due in large part to many stakeholders, including, as I said, the ratepayers, many elected officials who supported significant investments in our clean water infrastructure and upgrading our treatment plants, building new sewer pipes, maintaining the existing sewer system, plus our enhanced industrial pretreatment program, working closely with local businesses to ensure chemicals are not entering our local water courses untreated. As a result of all of this, what we've seen is a significant reduction in the amount of pollution entering our local waterways and an abundance of aquatic life returning. In 1969, there were only a couple of species of fish in the Cuyahoga River. Today, we are proud to boast that 70 fish species call the Cuyahoga River home. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge past sewer district leadership as well. Speaking of which, one is here today, Julius Chach, also Erwin O'Deal, who were crucial in the success of the sewer district, which has brought us to where we are today, and to the sewer district employees, both present and past, who have been crucial to our region's water quality improvements. Their passion to clean water is unwavering and their commitment is unquestionable. As we look forward to the next 50 years, we must continue to build on the success of the past. And as the president of the Northeast Ohio Regional District Board of Trustees, my fellow board members and I look forward to building that foundation so that we can have an even brighter, cleaner Cuyahoga River. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Darnell. Kyle Dreyfus Wells is our next speaker. She's CEO of the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, a district that treats, listen to this, 90 billion gallons of water every year, thanks to the work of more than 750 employees. She works closely with 7 trustees and 9 directors to ensure the efficient management of hundreds of miles of sewer and stream networks, a multi-billion dollar 25-year Project Clean Lake program, and a regional wet weather strategy, which has gotten a lot of strategic work over this last month for the health of Lake Erie and more than 1 million residents that they serve. Kyle Dreyfus Wells.
Good morning, everybody. It is great to be with you today on the banks of the mighty Cuyahoga River. It's great to be here today when the flow is just a little bit lower, because we all know that it's been raining for 40 days and 40 nights. But the river has made itself known to all of us over the last couple of weeks. So I want to start off by recognizing the hard work and dedication of the people of the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. Many of those employees are with us today with their families, so big ups for the employees of NEORC. I also want to recognize all of our partners. We heard a lot today about partnership, and this is the result of partnership. Nobody does this alone. So second big ups to all of our partners that are here today. So we've heard throughout the morning the story of the fire and how it has shaped environmental policy for our country. We heard about our city's courageous leadership through Mayor Carl Stokes, a longtime advocate for equity, who understood that environmental injustice was detrimental to the city of Cleveland and to our region. We heard about the sewer district's former and current board of trustees and our former directors, Irwin O'Deal and Julius Chach, who had the bravery and the courage to invest over $5 billion of ratepayer funding in improving our wastewater treatment plants and sewer infrastructure, which give us what we have today. And our ratepayers, never forget yourselves. These are the folks that have funded this by and large, and it is a big commitment from the people of Northeast Ohio. We've also heard about the importance of a strong and robust Clean Water Act. This all did not just happen. We have this Clean Water Act and adequate and sustained funding to protect and maintain our water resources. So with this authority and with this funding at the sewer district, we are controlling combined sewer overflow through Project Clean Lake. We are managing stormwater through our regional stormwater management program, and we are doing the day-to-day work, which you heard about from President Brown, of managing 90 billion gallons of wastewater every year from over 1 million people. So on this momentous day, we're unveiling a tribute to those stakeholders past and our employees and ratepayers who continue to support this work. So to my left is the Superior Avenue Pump Station. It is the coolest pump station in the world. So y'all need to go over there and take a tour. You get a huge appreciation for pumps. If you want to know more about pumps, where's Jim Bunzy? Raise your hand, Jim Bunzy. There's the pump guy. Go talk to Jim Bunzy. Pumps are amazing, and they are integral to sewage work. So get your flyer and go walk the pump station with our staff that are over there. They're amazing employees, and they're doing great work. So let me tell you about this pump station, because I know y'all have barbecues and cookouts to go to later, and you need to drop these facts into conversation. So this is the Superior Avenue Pump Station, not to be confused with the Stones Levee Pump Station. Those two, and don't confuse those, because I know commonly people confuse. Those two pump stations control 4 combined sewer overflows. Combined sewers, remember, is the untreated discharge of sewage and stormwater to the environment. Before these two pump stations went online, 16 million gallons a year of combined sewer overflow flowed into the river. This will now be zero, the big zero. So today we're dedicating a plaque which will be displayed at the pump station, and before it's placed in the pump station, the plaque is here with John Gonzalez, who is the source of our Twitter feed. I just want to do a big reveal. So everybody can sign the back of the plaque, and I'd like the board, yes, John? The board to join me back up on the stage. I apologize, you have to get back up. To join me back up on the stage, and we are going to look at this plaque. So John is telling me this is for display purposes only. So we can't sell this version, this particular. If you want to sign the plaque, you have to go to one of the tables. Where is the plaque? Oh, it's with Tanya. Check out Tanya. She's got the cute purse, the crossbody bag. You can sign it there with her. So. Now, am I supposed to read the plaque? But I can't see it. But I'm supposed to read it. All right, so here's the plaque. Celebrating 50 years of progress on the Cuyahoga River. Since Cleveland's beginning, the Cuyahoga River has been the heart of the region and a reflection of its people, hardworking, relentless, and enduring. Its ongoing resurrection since June 22nd, 1969 fire on its surface is a testament to the work of the people that brought the Cuyahoga back to life. We celebrate those whose commitment, strength, and perseverance played a critical role in its rebirth. Dedicated by the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District on this day, June 22nd, 2019. And then, so thank you, board. Thank you very much. So finally, before we move on, I'd want to thank our congressional delegation and staff from their offices that are here today. So we have with us Candace Kadinsky and Josh Press from Senator Portman's office. And a big thank you to both Senator Portman and Senator Brown, who introduced a Senate resolution this week marking 50 years of environmental progress since the 1969 fire. So thank you very much for that. Tim Ross from Congressman Gibbs' office is here. Clifton Williams and Cameron Harris from Congresswoman Fudge's office are here. Mike Cunningham from Congressman Gonzalez's office is here. There's Mike. And we have Major Patrick Billman, Deputy District Commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers from the Buffalo District, and Russ Brandenburg, who are both here. Thank you very much. And we heard from Regional Administrator Kathy Stepp, and we also have Jeff Kelly and Brooke Furio, also from Region 5. So thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Congrats. You can leave that up for a little bit if you want. It's lovely. So this story that we've been talking about today, this really is our story. It's the story of us. It's the story of our city. It's the story of the journey that we've been on since our city was founded here on Settlers Landing. And it's the story, really, of the journey of our nation. It's the story of leadership, public servants, and citizens who care, who do their part. And every day we think about this story, every day we start this journey anew. And in the very near future, we'll be starting a lot of journeys right here, again, at Settlers Landing, where there will be a gateway to the Towpath Trail. So Tim Donovan, are you ready for your moment here? Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Donovan, the man without whom, oh yeah. Tim, go ahead.
That's the last time I buy Chris Farley clothing. So anyway, by the way, after this, we're going to have a new reason to remember the date, June 22nd. A brand new reason and a brand new story. So welcome aboard here, everyone. I want to begin by thanking the Regional Sewer District. They're the ones that did all the logistics for this particular event. And big thanks for doing that. Let's hear it up. Somebody mentioned that it's unique and it's interesting and it's important that we're meeting right here, right on this exact spot. They don't know how right they are. I'm going to tell you a little story. A couple of years ago, we were planning the Canal Basin Park in this area here, and we went to give an update to the sewer district crew because they were planning the pump station. And Julius Chach was the director then, and Kyle, I remember, we had a room full of people. And basically the idea was we had tried to buy this property for Canal Basin Park for 20 years. We could not get the guy to engage with us at all. And when we finally did get him to give us a price, the price was just ridiculous. So when we met with the sewer district and found out what they were working on, we saw an opportunity, and so did they. They were able to purchase the property, use what they needed for the pump station, and then have this ancillary property, the green space that we're on today, become part of Canal Basin Park, working with the city on an agreement that allowed them to do their first and foremost mission about getting rid of stormwater like they're doing here today, but also using it for green infrastructure, etc. So it was a win-win, and a big win for the city of Cleveland, and a big win in the future when we build and design Canal Basin Park. So thank you, Sewer District. Then last of all, I also think it's good to note that they work with us on the development of the greenway that is associated with the Towpath Trail. So along that spine, if you will, we have seen opportunities to create new wetlands, etc. And working with the agency here, we've done that. So it's really going to be a much cleaner valley once we're done here working together. So again, that's the last thing we're going to thank them for. Let's thank them. All right. Now I'm going to share a story with you from John Debo, the former superintendent of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. It's about a towpath trail. It's actually about the fact that they were building the towpath trail through the park, and he said the anticipation was so great that people would literally follow the bulldozer as it went down the pathway there. And he said that on a weekend, one of his volunteers were out there walking the path with his wife, and he stumbled across something. He hit something into the trail itself, and being a good Boy Scout, he took out the Swiss Army knife and he went to dig it up. Thought it was a root or something. Well, as he dug it up, he found out he had a little lamp that came out of there. And he took it home, went down the basement, was cleaning it up, had the brasso out, was giving it a good rub, and lo and behold, a puff of smoke comes out of the lamp. It's a genie. The genie thanks him for releasing him from this lamp, and he says, you know, you're lucky I've got one wish left to grant. So tell me your wish. And the guy was pretty well off. He didn't really need anything personally. But he said, you know, I'd like to have world peace. Bring me world peace. Give me world peace. And Genie said, did I tell you how long I was in that bottle? He goes, yeah, this is too heavy of a lift here. Let's lower our expectations a bit. So he goes, okay, can't have world peace. He thinks for a second. He runs out, comes back with a map from the other room. He goes, you can't give me world peace. I'll tell you what. There's this section of the world. It's called the Middle East. Give me peace there. And the genie goes, you're just not getting it, are you? You got to really lower that expectation for me here. So he sat back and he said, okay, wait a minute. I got one for you. He goes, you know, I found you on this Towpath Trail. And there's an effort to build this thing 101 miles long. And it's going to take the cooperation of all the cities and towns along the way to do it. We're all going to have to share one common goal. You know, they call these things regionalism. And, you know, they don't work out that well in this part of the world. But, you know, so there's going to be a bit of a challenge here. But that being, and the other thing I should mention is it costs a lot of money. Because in Cleveland alone, it's like $87 million just to build the 5 miles of trail from its border to Canal Basin Park. So I'll tell you what, Jeannie, give me that. Give me the Towpath Trail. Well, the genie rubbed his chin a little bit, thought about it, and he said, can I see that map of the Middle East again? So, I want to assure you that we did not find the money through the genie. That money had to be put together meticulously, and it is a representation of many partners, the 4 key partners that are building this trail, the city, the county, Cleveland Metro Parks, and our group, Canalway Partners. But it doesn't end there, because there are key players who have played key roles. And I'm about to introduce one of those persons right now to come up and share that with you all. Miss Grace Galucci from NOACA. Let's bring her on up.
Good afternoon. Hard to beat that story, but I'm going to try. As the Metropolitan Planning Agency representing the Cleveland region, we here at NOACA are thrilled to be here today to celebrate our environmental progress as well as break ground on the Towpath Trail Stage 4. Relative to the environmental progress, NOACA is responsible for air quality, water quality, in addition to transportation. So I will tell you a water quality story. My husband is from Chicago. That's Lake Michigan. When we first met here in Cleveland, we were commuting as a relationship. One of the first summer beautiful days that he came to visit me, I had to go to work, and he said, "What shall I do today?" And I said, we lived in Detroit Shoreway. I lived in Detroit Shoreway. I said, "You should go visit Edgewater Park, Edgewater Beach. We have a beach." And he says, "Okay." He goes, when I come home from work, I go into the bathroom, and I'm horrified. I'm horrified because I see wet swim trunks and a towel. And I said, "What did you do?" And he said, "I went to Edgewater Beach." I said, "But you went into the water?" And he said, "You didn't tell me I couldn't go into the water." I said, "You have to take another shower." So we have come a long way over the last couple of decades. At this point, we have a terrific beachfront, a clean lake, and proud of it. And thanks to all of those partners that have made that happen. When it comes to the Towpath Trail, it's long been known to planners that trails and green space are a vital part of the fabric of our communities. The Towpath Trail represents a substantial asset to Northeast Ohio and to our communities. Trails make communities more livable and more desirable. Trails strengthen our economy by improving our neighborhoods and bringing visitors. Trails are also a way to improve public health by giving people access and opportunity for physical fitness. For those of us who understand the direct link between quality of place and quality of life, trails play a central role in sustaining and growing our communities. NOACA is pleased to have been able to make the Towpath Trail a reality. Over the last several years, NOACA has directed nearly $30 million of its federal transportation funds. That's right, $30 million of its federal transportation funds to the Towpath Trail. That's the single most, the largest dollar amount to a single project in NOACA's history. More than roads, more than bridges, more than anything else, the Towpath Trail. This demonstrates the vision, the leadership, and the boldness of the NOACA board. We have several of our board members here today, including Mayor Jackson, Executive Budish, Mayor Stefanik, Kyle Dreyfus-Wells, Kurt Princik, Matt Zone, and we even have former board member Julius Chach. Let's give them some acknowledgement. For the role they took into making this happen. And if you think that's a lot of board members, we are about the size of a small legislature, except we get along a lot better and we get a lot of things done. So I also want to acknowledge the federal government, US DOT and EPA, and even HUD in the many partnerships we've had with them. But the funding that the NOACA board has directed towards the Towpath Trail comes from congestion mitigation and air quality funding, often referred to as CMAQ. And that program provides funding for transportation projects that are located in the largest urban areas that are in non-attainment with federal EPA standards for air quality. So it's a bad thing, a bad reason that we get the funds, but we get to use them for good things to improve air quality. And at the state level, I want to acknowledge partnerships with the folks at the Ohio Department of Transportation and the legislature and administrations, past and present, for allowing us to move forward with this very innovative way of spending federal funds and allowing the Towpath Trail to be one of the first such projects to use CMAQ dollars in the state of Ohio and in the country in this way. So it's really simple. Offering alternatives to the single occupancy vehicle, getting cars off the road, it reduces congestion and improves air quality for all of us in Northeast Ohio. Thus, in conclusion, transportation infrastructure and the environment can coexist. In fact, they can even thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. You know, every good project starts with good planning. And you may wonder, where did these trail ideas start? I mean, when did it start being planned in and people start to recognize the value, etc.? Well, I'm going to give you an answer. It started back in 1985 when a couple of fellas met each other at a Thanksgiving Day appreciation dinner in the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Their names, Jeff Lenartz and Tom Yablonsky. They both shared something in common. They saw an opportunity for the city of Cleveland to take advantage of this new and burgeoning national park by having better connections, if you will, between the urban environment and that park itself through the Cuyahoga River Valley. So they were tasked with getting a plan done that could try to share this vision, and they went to the county. They went to the County Planning Commission, and at the time, Rick Seco was the principal planner for this, and Paul Alcinas was there and Jim Kostelik. And this became kind of the bedrock plan for the Cuyahoga River Valley. It was a seminal piece of work. Rick really did an outstanding job in terms of documenting demographics, documenting transportation, history, etc. And he included some visionary ideas in there. By the way, one of them, the waterfront line, which has gotten done as part of the city's bicentennial. And that, as time progressed and the idea of that connection grew, the National Park Service, under the Rails, Trails, and Conservancy Assistance Program, did what we call a feasibility study to see, is it feasible to somehow link those two entities together, and if so, how? And quote unquote, did we have the right stuff, as I would say? Did we have the right stuff to become a designated national park, or perhaps a new designation, a National Heritage Area? We ultimately found out we had what it took to be a National Heritage Area, and through an act of Congress in 1996, we became the 7th National Heritage Area in America. With that designation came the requirement of doing a master plan to tell Congress how you might spend the money, if you got any, and where the boundaries were, etc. And we did that. We had a master plan that engaged the community with 75 public meetings over the course of decisions to be made within that plan. And the outcome of it was, one of the main things, and we're here today, was the idea of not only connecting it with a singular trail, but creating a network of trail, a system of trails that would feed into that Towpath trail, therefore connecting, in the city of Cleveland's case, not only neighborhoods, historic neighborhoods, not only assets, both natural and cultural, to the Towpath trail, but ultimately to each other. And that vision grew to a point where now the slogan is, can we get a trail within a 10-minute bike ride of every resident in the city of Cleveland? And Mayor, I think we're on our way there, aren't we? We're getting there. Absolutely. So that's where those trails started. That trail planning continues. Certainly, I think that finishing the Towpath Trail is only going to boost that activity in the future. We are lucky to have a county government that not only supplied the planning for this particular effort, but also helped us manage that effort in terms of contracts, in terms of funding, the grants, and everything else. I am so happy that they are a partner in this endeavor, and I wish they could continue their partnership as we try to tackle Canal Basin Park, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But with that, Armin, please welcome Armin Budishare from the Cuyahoga County.
Hello, everybody. So today is truly an amazing milestone. We're celebrating not only the river, but also our Towpath Trail. And this final groundbreaking of the Towpath Trail, it's been years in the making. It's been our dream to create this fabulous trail that connects all the way down to the Ohio and Erie Canalway. It's been a real collaboration, as you've heard, between the city, the county, the metro parks, NOACA, Canalway partners, our state and federal partners, and others. We have lots of paths and trails scattered throughout the county. One problem is that they haven't been connected. So the new Greenway plan that we're working on will hopefully be connecting all those, and the Towpath Trail is the spine. It's the major part of this effort to connect our trails and make the county, Cuyahoga County, the greenest, most walkable area in the state of Ohio. That's our goal. Whether you're pushing a stroller or commuting to work or walking the dog or riding a bike, these interconnected paths and trails are going to be a significant enhancement to the quality of life here in Cuyahoga County. It's such a change from 50 years ago when the river caught fire. You can feel the excitement. Just today, you can feel the excitement of what's going on, celebrating the river and the Towpath Trail and the great progress we're making here. So just one last thing I wanted to mention. I was wondering when I was looking at the agenda why there were so many speakers. I mean, people can only listen for so long, and there are a lot of speakers. And then I looked around, and I see dozens of shovels back here. And I know that there's still a lot of work to do on the Towpath Trail, so I'm afraid that the speakers are going to be asked to grab a shovel and dig a mile or two when we're done. Thank you all very much.
We're rounding the bend. We're getting there. As good as our partnership is, the quality of that partnership is just extreme. We are so fortunate to have Cleveland Metro Parks as being one of our 4 parties in the partnership agreement to build and maintain the trail. They will take on the responsibility of everyday maintenance once it's completed. The city of Cleveland has stepped forward to take on the capital repairs and improvements for the future. Very, very good stuff here. Now, it's kind of interesting. I remember a date and time sometime back when Cleveland Metro Parks had built the first part of the canal reservation, and they rented a bus and they put their 3 commissioners on it, their executive director. We had folks from county planning on it. I was on the bus, and the idea was we were going to take the bus along the route of where the trail was going to go between, at the time, the Canalway Center off East 49th Street all the way to Canal Basin Park. So we started down the grassy trail, and we had staff pointing out where the future trail would be. And at the time, this was a former administration in terms of commissioners, et cetera. The head of that particular body was Fred Rzepka, if folks know Fred, and he was the chairman. And we got to Harvard, and Fred said, "Hey, hold on, stop the bus, I'm getting out here." We said, "Well, Fred, we're not even halfway there, we want to show you." He goes, No, I'm getting out here. This is where we get out." The message was, it sank in after a while, they were going to build that section to Harvard. They were committed to do that. They were not committed beyond that. And Fred wanted to just honor that commitment and do that. He wasn't too interested in what went on ahead because he didn't think that Cleveland Metro Parks could basically take on that particular task alone. And as it turned out, we needed a four-party partnership to figure that out, and we've gotten one. But the other thing that I realized after that day was that the executive director at the time was Vern Hartenberg, could only do what his board would let him to do. Now, this isn't a shock to anyone, I'm sure, but that being said, it makes me understand today's world where we have three commissioners now who have a much different, shall we say, outlook on the world and how Cleveland Metro Parks could be proactive in terms of their involvement with the city and trails, et cetera. And we owe much to that because without that leadership, without that commitment, we would be hung up. We wouldn't have a good answer for that. With it, we've got a great answer. And so it's my pleasure to bring one of those three commissioners up to the microphone here to share her thoughts. Help me welcome Debbie Berry.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm really excited to be up here representing Cleveland Metro Parks and CEO Brian Zimmerman and my fellow commissioners Dan Moore and Bruce Rinker. In fact, we're so committed to the project that I decided to dress to represent one of our three core values for the Towpath Trail, which is recreation. The other two being conservation and education, which you'll see along the park as well. So I just, again, want to share a few words from the Metro Parks about this really important project. In its second century of stewardship, Cleveland Metro Parks remains focused on building connections and expanding access to trails and parks. The Towpath project is a critical link connecting our neighborhoods. We know that neighborhoods connected to the Emerald Necklace enjoy a better quality of life. As the residential landscape of Cleveland has shifted and we've seen tremendous growth in the city's urban core and inner suburbs, Cleveland Metro Parks is focusing on increasing the amount of trails and access to green space in those neighborhoods. This fourth and final phase of the Towpath Trail is a critical link that will better connect residents, commuters, and trail visitors alike to the 23,000 acres of the Cleveland Metro Parks Emerald Necklace and the 33,000 acres of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Cleveland Metro Parks is also working on connections from the Towpath to neighborhoods and the lakefront through several projects that include the Lake Link Trail, the Red Line Greenway, the Whiskey Island Edgewater Connector, and the Windy Park Bridge. This project, like so many others, would not be possible without the continued partnership and display of collaboration and vision that's been discussed before between the Cleveland Metro Parks, Cuyahoga County, the City of Cleveland, and Canalway Partners, and the incredible support of NOACA, the Sewer District, and many other partners. It is because of this shared vision and the mission of the project stakeholders that we continue to see progress on the construction of the Towpath Trail and the soon-to-be Canal Basin Park. So again, thank you to everyone for your wonderful partnerships.
It's been mentioned before that we're in a special place here. For me, this is kind of like the sacred ground of history for the city of Cleveland. There was a time when this river was the western boundary of America. So it made Cleveland, by the way, a West Coast city. Think about that. When Moses Cleveland came with his band to survey this city, they stepped from the river to the banks of the shore here, right down the way, within the footprint of eventually what we're going to call Canal Basin Park. When Alfred Kelly, in 1820, began to lay out a canal that was part of a transcontinental transportation system envisioned by George Washington, one that would connect New York City and the Hudson River through the Erie Canal to the Great Lakes, and a canal through the state of Ohio to the Mississippi River to New Orleans. connecting, in essence, New Orleans and New York. Making New York, by the way, the financial capital of America because of that particular connection. And making Cleveland a pivot point in terms of trade, in terms of people. We went from being a wilderness. We had 660 people living here in 1820. Cincinnati had 10,000 people. We were way behind the curve in that one, but this canal boosted us up. We became the central city in Ohio. Ohio became the third largest and the third richest state in the Union, largely because of that canal. When John Rockefeller decided to open up a new business, he put his first office in the footprint of this canal. Think of that. He's a guy who led America into a gilded age of tremendous investment, tremendous accomplishments. It marked the future of this river valley as a manufacturing center, and that brought tremendous wealth to our city. And that wealth had a tremendously positive impact here, an impact that included art museums and natural history museum, all the museums of University Circle. It helped create the United Way. It helped inspire and create the Cleveland Metro Parks units. But it also faced a question when they were creating the Cleveland Metro Parks, should they include the Cuyahoga River as part of that park system? And in 1917, the notes will tell you, they said, no, it's too important for industry. Too important for industry. Well, guess what, folks? Today, I think it's just as, maybe even more important for the future economic sustainability of this city. It is and has been where we get our image, where we have our identity, and it's a changing identity. It's a changing identity, and it's a very positive story that we have to tell. We need to do a better job of telling it. We need to understand what Carl Stokes knew back in 1969 when a little fire that hardly got any notice locally he was able to take that story through his brother to a congressional hearing and to the nation, and then we, as a city, took one for the team, if you will. Yeah, we had a little bit of jokes named after us, but you know what? Being the poster child of an environmental movement that changed the world, that's a big story. That's our story. That's the story we got to tell. That's not a story we should forget. We need to know what Carl Stokes knows or knew. And in fact, we're fortunate because this is a mystical place. And we have Carl Stokes with us. Carl?
Hello. My name is Carl Burton Stokes. And from 1967 to 1971, I had the honor of serving as the mayor of this great city that we used to call the best location in the nation. Now, I grew up in one of the most impoverished neighborhoods in Cleveland. My father, a foundry worker, died in 1929 when I was just 2 years old. So my mother had to work full-time to support me and my older brother, Louis. But she always encouraged us to study so that we could become somebody. And we did. Now, although my first campaign for mayor in 1965 ended in defeat, it didn't deter me from running again 2 years later against Seth Taft, a lawyer from a prominent Ohio family. Now, when Abraham Lincoln issued his Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, I guess he never thought that over a century later, the grandson of one of the slaves he freed defeated the grandson of a former U.S. president to become mayor of the nation's 8th largest city. Yes, that's exactly what happened. I became the first African-American mayor of a major American city. Now, when I convened Cleveland's first water task force, I was determined to clean up the Cuyahoga River and Lake Erie. Because of all the sewage and industrial debris that was being dumped into it, our waterways were all but dead. But my administration was determined to revive it. But then in 1969, we had a small fire, as our river fires go. Now, this fire allowed me and the city of Cleveland to seize an opportunity. Now, as I look out at the leaders that followed me, we can see that the groundbreaking today of the trail will give us all a great opportunity to make the Canal Basin Park a very, very special place. Thank you.
Talk about making history. Come alive. Our final speaker is somebody who has been making history since she joined Congress in 1983. Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur represents the 9th Congressional District. She probably has a greater coastline to square mileage ratio than anybody else in Congress, except apart from Rhode Island's congressional rep. She is the longest-serving woman in Congress ever. Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur, ladies and gentlemen, our final speaker.
Thank you very much. Well, am I glad I came. Mayor, it's great to be in Cleveland, and I want to thank all of those who have been building this city since they were born. Until the state legislature drew the 9th District into Cleveland, we had to be careful when we came over from the minor leagues over in Toledo to Cleveland. There was, you had to genuflect at the border. So I'm always very respectful when I come. I wanted to be here with you today, and I know Congressman David Joyce, my colleague, is here. And we work together on behalf of not just Cleveland, but obviously the entire Great Lakes region. And today, as I was listening, I thought when the American people have a great idea, get out of the way and help them. And I also thought this is an intergenerational idea. And I'm so pleased to have had a remembrance here with all of you this morning of the service of Mayor Carl Stokes. I was in high school, having just gone, actually in college, when he was elected mayor, and I had the great privilege of serving with his brother Lou Stokes, and also 2 other gentlemen, not from Cleveland, Ralph Regula and John Seiberling, who when I first got to Congress, they always wore chukka boots. They walked around the country, they walked around this valley, they tried to do everything in their power to help you achieve this vision. And I know that Congressman Joyce and myself are infected with that vision. I know I'm one of the final speakers, and I want to be short, but as a city planner by training myself, I was reminded of this quote by Daniel Burnham: "Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's and women's blood, and probably themselves will not be realized. Make big plans. Aim high in hope and work, remembering that a noble, logical diagram, once recorded, will never die, but long after we are gone, be a living thing, asserting itself with ever-growing insistency." And that is what we all are about in being here today. To me, I feel the resiliency and restorative character of the American people in participating in this ceremony. And I don't know if any other speaker mentioned it, but the name Cuyahoga actually came from our First Nation people, the Seneca and the Mohawk, who described it as a very crooked river, and one that looked like a jawbone. And so we have their history infused in its name and in its character. I feel here today that Cleveland is driving a dream bigger than itself. And I want to tell you that for the Great Lakes region, the U.S. Department of Interior does what it is legislated to do. But we need a bigger idea from the Great Lakes region. And that idea that should be a part of the interpretive efforts of our U.S. Department of Interior must be that America's first frontier was the Northwest Territory, anchored here. And the work that you are doing can be connected to broader interpretation that it would extend to our sister state of Michigan and westward to Indiana, to the dunes, to the lakes. Believe it or not, if you go to the U.S. Department of Interior today, you will probably end up at Denali, and I hope you go. But it's much different when you come to the Great Lakes. We've been short on interpretation, in my opinion, at the department for many, many years. We have the only wildlife refuges here in the entire state that are federally managed, west of Sandusky Bay, and we have one of the greatest parks right here in Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and all the connectivity you are providing. Think about the nation, think about the missing history here. If you come to the Native American Museum in Washington, D.C., and you walk through it, you will be struck by the names of some of Ohio's counties and many tribes that resided here. None of that story is returned here. I say, what? You have to come to Washington, D.C. as a tourist to understand more about what the Northwest Territory is? Do you share those collections with the Department of Interior sites that exist in our greater region? No. So we have work to do, and you are carving the most central jewel of helping America understand more of its own history and learning from it. So I just want to add my congratulations and full support to what you are about today, in the years before today, in the years that will come after today, as you really help restore Cleveland and its reputation as for a city, but also help America understand its own history that was driven by development here in our Great Lakes region. Congratulations to all. Thank you.
I love that quote by Burnham, and I also love one by Robert Kennedy. Kennedy said, "Some men see things as they are and ask why. I dream things that never were and ask why not." This is a why not day for me. You know, that Towpath Trail, a lot of people thought that was a dream that would never come true. Well, today, again, I repeat, we have a new reason to remember the date, June 22nd. So here's my instructions now. This is over. We're done with the ceremonies. Those that have brought shovels, please join me over here. We are going to do the ceremonial shovel shot.